And we've got a beautiful day for hiking in late April here. This is the last week of April 2025. I started documenting the New England Trail for this channel 2 years ago, and I'm going to continue to do so at least once or twice a year to do different pieces of the New England Trail through Connecticut and Massachusetts. So far I've only done Connecticut. Massachusetts may be possible this year as well. Today finds me in Durham, Connecticut, D-U-R-H-A-M. This is South Central Connecticut, and we are on the New England Trail, Mattabesett section. So the New England Trail follows the Mattabesett Trail and the Metacomet Trail through Connecticut, and often the signage is for those trails and not for the New England Trail. So we have to be looking for signs for Mattabesett or Metacomet Trail, depending on what part we're on. And our goal today is to head northeast on the Mattabesett Trail. Got the sign right here, kind of backlit there, towards Mount Pisgah, which is 0.9 miles. We'll go over the summit of Mount Pisgah, and then continue kind of snaking around in a generally east-northeast direction towards Miller's Pond area. My goal is to try to get what's called Bear Rock today. It's about 6-7 miles out on the New England Trail. And there's also a place called Cockenchog Rock or Cave, I believe, along the way. It's a little bit off trail, but it's on a side trail. And we'll see how far we can get. I've got about 8 hours to do this. I'm going to do a road walk back so I don't have to spend a lot of time backtracking. I've got it planned so there's about a 3.5 mile road walk I can do to finish my hike today and spend most of my time in the woods and allow maybe an hour and a half for the road walk. So parking along the New England Trail, especially around here, is scarce. There's a lot of road crossings that say they have roadside parking, but there really isn't much. So I chose to park at Cream Pot Road in Durham here. There's plenty of parking there, at least on a weekday. I had no trouble getting a spot. There's probably room for 20 cars there. And from here we could go where we're going today, which is Mount Pisgah, or the other way, which is Pyramid Rock. And then beyond that is the Michael Ledges and Broomstick Ledges, and the scenery is great in all parts of this trail. There's no section that's uninteresting in this area. So today's hike will be going over Mount Pisgah and then over the general area of Bear Rock and Cockenchog Cave, I think it's called, and through the Cockaponset State Forest and Miller's Pond State Park. There's a lot of ledge around here, a lot of mountain laurel. Could be some wildflowers. This part of Connecticut doesn't have tons of wildflowers in April. Tend to get more in May with the Mayflower and the lady slippers. And of course the mountain laurel comes into bloom in late May. One tree that does bloom this time of year, it's a little late this year, but it is starting to bloom. I saw some driving over here, is the serviceberry. We'll be looking for that as we go over the ledge areas where there's a little bit more sun for it to grow. I think Mother Nature might be proving me wrong with the wildflower situation, because I'm already starting to find some. These are awfully small yellow violets. Now, it's been cool most of April. We did have some warm weather recently, but perhaps they just haven't reached their full size yet, but they seem a little smaller than what I'm used to finding. And right up here, I believe we've got a false Solomon seal starting to bloom. And this guy here, I'm thinking of the name and I'm not thinking of the name, so I'll have to get back on that. I should remember if I see it again today. Problem with wildflowers, you only see them once a year, and then you got 11.5 months to forget the name. And plenty of fiddleheads coming up here. Some ferns. Just thinking about unfurling, but it's supposed to be mild. Days in the 60s all week, so that should help get things moving. We had a lot of days in the 40s. drizzly, rainy, cold at night. Not much was progressing the first half of April. But once Mother Nature gets the right conditions, things will explode into bloom. And I failed to mention on that last clip about the skunk cabbage, which grows in all the wet soils around here, along streams and in swamps. Actually pretty interesting to look at, but it lives up to its name. You don't want to try to eat it or even touch it. Pretty foul smelling. And our spice bush is one of the first shrubs to bloom in many areas of the eastern United States. Gets these delicate little flowers, and then once they're gone, it gets a just an ordinary looking blade-shaped leaf, and then some pretty red berries in the fall. So it's pretty attractive when it's in bloom and when the berries are around, and the foliage is ordinary looking. But it stands out this time of year because it is one of the first things in these wetter soils. So it grows in wetter, moister soils, along with the skunk cabbage. We'll be seeing more of it today in any area that doesn't get a lot of drying winds or drying sun. And just a word of caution when navigating through this area around Mount Pisgah and the nearby Rockland Preserve. There are trails everywhere. Some are blazed, some aren't. And maps of those trails are available too. But if you look at the All Trails map of this area, it looks like somebody threw a pile of spaghetti on the floor. Mountain bike trails, hiking trails, deer trails. Look for your blazes. They're out here, because if you don't, you're probably going to end up on another trail. And they all connect eventually, so it's not a big problem. But if you want to do this section hike and you don't want to get too distracted or lose too much time on other trails, keep an eye out for your blazes. I've already seen purple blazes today for another trail. I mean, the good news is there's so much public land around here that all these organizations have put in their own trails. And that's fine. Just be aware that they're here. If you do want to do the New England Trail through this area, you just need to be on the lookout for those blazes. And we may see a New England Trail blaze along the trail today, where this actually has its own symbols, but most of the time we're looking for these blue blazes on the sections through Connecticut, which is basically coinciding with the Mattabesset and Metacomet trails. And yes, we are going to get some wildflowers today. I hiked last week, not too far from here, and didn't see any wildflowers, but it got warmer. So I think Mother Nature is going to prove me wrong that there's no wildflowers to be seen today, because there are. Here's our bloodroot. Just starting to open up. All this one's already lost some of its petals. So bloodroot is early to bloom, but it doesn't stay in flower more than a few days. One that we can count on being in bloom for a few weeks and is quite handsome. I recorded this over in the Simsbury area a couple years ago. This is our purple trillium. It's just starting to open up, so it's not full size yet. Lots of it along here. A little bashful, likes to nod down a little bit. These ones are a little larger right here. And about a half mile in, we're starting to see the cliffs of Mount Pisgah from underneath here. We'll be on top of these in a few minutes here. But this hill, I've only done this part of this section of the trail. Once we get to the top of Mount Pisgah, I'm going to be on new trail. New to me. So I am familiar with what I'm looking at here, but the next 6-7 miles after that will be new to me. That's why I chose this section. So yeah, a lot of ledge up here. It's like a big dome almost. It's about 500 feet higher than the valley around here, just north of here. I think Mount Pisgah is 644 feet above sea level, and the lowland to our north is about 150 feet. So these are not mountains around here, but they're definitely rugged terrain with several hundred feet of relief. This is all metamorphic rock around here on this side of Durham. You get just west of here, you're in what's the Triassic lowland, which has red bed sandstones and shales, red in color, and also some basalt. So if you hike the New England Trail in the other direction from Cream Pot Road, within 7 or 8 miles, you're going to get on that type of geology. And we've only come up part of the way up Mount Pisgah, but I think we can get some peeks at this serviceberry, which is in bloom. I think it's not quite fully in bloom, but it's close enough. Through the trees here. Got those white flowers. So serviceberry usually is a medium-sized understory tree. It can get 40-50 feet high. It can live a long time. But for it to persist, it needs open areas. It needs areas where there's at least some sun. It's not fully enclosed by larger trees. That's where we'll find it in nature. Once in a while you'll find one where it shouldn't be. But if you want to see a lot of serviceberry, you need to get on some open ledge, and that's what we've got coming up here. Well, we have ledges off and on the way up Mount Pisgah here. Nothing that requires your hands. You can certainly trail run it without too much trouble if you're a trail runner. Mountain biking, there's mountain bike trails around here. I don't know if this is really one of them, but this open ledge at the pretty much near the summit here provides a great habitat for this serviceberry. So let's just admire it as we hike along today. These are pretty much in full bloom. A couple days in the low 80s got it going, and got it going quickly. So yes, amazing foliage, or flowers and foliage coming out at the same time on this one. I did a tree study on serviceberry 2 years ago in this area and found what I thought were 3 different species. That study is found on Barking Up the Right Tree. That's another channel I've worked on over the years, specifically for tree identification. I'm always wanting to throw some in on these hikes as well. 5 petals. These are just starting to open up. This one's got a fuzzy back to the leaf when it's opening. That makes it a downy serviceberry because of the downy leaf. At least downy when it's first opening. And the ones that don't have the down around here are called Allegheny serviceberry. We'll see if we can find some of those today. Oh, and we've got a whole forest of the serviceberry to our left here. I can kind of see this on the drive over here. You're looking up at this hill from the roads nearby here. You can see it. Wow. That's pretty impressive right there. Almost looks like snowflakes hanging in midair. All right. Lots of pitch pine up here, folks. This is the true summit of Mount Pisgah here. Lots of open ledge, some more of that serviceberry, and gnarled and twisted pitch pines everywhere. So, got some good views. I've done this part of the hike before. The rest of this from here on is new to me. But you got some good views from up here. Usually if you have pitch pine, you got views too, because Pitchpine needs full sun, and the serviceberry needs at least some sun. So let's take a look here. We're going to have a good view looking west here. Yeah, we can look down at the serviceberry today and really get some good contrast too. Right there. And yes, just west of here is Fowler and Pistapog Mountains. I actually recorded that quite a few years ago when I wasn't living around here but came to visit. That's to our west. This ridge is right over here. And then there's a quarry at the north end of that. You can kind of see an abrupt cliff there. So that's over in the Triassic Basin, or the Triassic and Jurassic aged sedimentary rocks and volcanic rocks too. Basalt is what they're mining over there where that cliff is. It's great for road construction. It packs well, breaks into nice even chunks. So that ridge continues this way. I did a hike that has gotten a lot of views lately. Almost 4 years ago I did it, and it's gotten a lot of views lately, called Lavas, Ledges, and Lookouts. And I recorded that right over here on Bluffhead, which is right over that way. It's a little hard to see it today, it's a little gray. But that's the place where the lavas and the volcanic rocks and the red bed sedimentary rocks and these metamorphic rocks we're standing on here begin. There's a fault right there. It goes right along Route 17, which is down in this valley here. So this is a great view looking west. I think we can see Hartford if we go onto another ledge. I've seen it other times I've been up here. Okay, I've come off the New England Trail with those blue blazes just a few feet to get this view looking north. Any more of this to look at, our serviceberry. I was hoping to catch this in bloom while I hiked today. And I was going to hike today regardless. The county where I live, the serviceberry is not out yet. But this area is usually a few degrees warmer. It's a little further from the ocean. And in New England, spring goes from west to east, not north to south. So if you go west, you get more things in bloom than you do east. You get out by Cape Cod and the islands, and stuff that's in bloom now won't be in bloom for another month. You can't warm up when you're surrounded by 45 or 50 degree water. So the further you get from that water, the more likely you are to find things in bloom earlier in the spring, or in this case in the middle of the spring. I'm going to zoom in on Hartford. It's a little hard to see right here. But it's there, right behind these serviceberry trees. Sticking up above what looks like a small hill there is the skyline of downtown Hartford, and some more of those volcanic or trap rock ridges behind it to the west of Hartford. So Mount Pisgah is only a mile from where I parked. You only have a little while to do the New England Trail. This section is as pretty as any. You can just turn around, or look at the other maps that are available in this area. There's plenty of connecting trails to make a loop. And we've come about a half mile from the top of Mount Pisgah where those views were. The trail kind of winds around through some pleasant woodlands, lots of mountain laurel. And then it actually comes up to another part of Mount Pisgah. It's a different part of it. It's kind of got some separate ledge systems here that aren't connected with the main summit. So Let's see what can be seen from up here. And about 2.5 miles into today's hike, we're still on the blue blazed Mattabesset Trail, also known as the New England Trail, as I've mentioned. We come to another good parking area to access this part of the trail. This is where section 9 begins. We just took part of section 9, and it stops here in the section map from the New England Trail base map. The next section we're going to take is called section 4. They're not in numerical order for a reason, because the trail forks near the broomstick ledges. They arbitrarily start the section numbers by the Connecticut River, where I hiked last year on Eclipse Day. That's still on this channel. Sections 1 and 2. And those numbers continue right to here. And then the next section that they've got numbered is right down there in Guilford at Long Island Sound and comes north to Broomstick Ledges to section 8. So those maps are available online as well. I'll show you the base map when we get done today. But if you follow the blue blazes, you're going to stay on this trail, despite all the many other trails that intersect it, including these ones on the Rockland Preserve, which we've been in and out of all day. The blue blazes are easy to find. I only had one place where I got on the wrong trail for just a few minutes, and I knew if I didn't see a blue blaze that I probably was on the wrong trail, and I was. Backtracked, corrected course. So got just a little bit of old road walking here, and then back in the woods on section 4, heading basically east northeast towards Cockenchog Cave, and if time, Bear Hill. We'll keep an eye on the or excuse me, Bear Rock. We'll keep an eye on the time. I have about a 4 o'clock time where I need to be starting the road walk to get back. It's a little afternoon right now. I think I can get to Bear Rock, but I do like to take time to record what's here along the way. So sometimes if there's a lot to record, I get slowed down. Alrighty, we've come upon some more wetlands. Some smaller brooks. The trail crosses in places. In this case, we're just kind of following it. More of that skunk cabbage, which is, it's pretty in its own way. This is so vibrant green. Growing right along with it is our false hellebore, which has the same color as the skunk cabbage on the left. Look at those leaves. Boy, they're three-dimensional. They're folded in places. And it gets quite tall. I was hiking in New Hampshire in June last year, and it was neck high on me in places. And yes, these pretty little flowers here. I have a feeling there might be more of them in a few weeks. It's our marsh marigold. It's got 5 petals there. And a heart-shaped leaf. And it's growing in wetlands. Hence the name marsh marigold. We'll be doing a road crossing shortly. I think it's Connecticut Route 79. And then back in the woods. So that's a good landmark. And it'll probably be about the halfway point today as far as the mileage goes. And we're at this New England Trail, Section 4, and the Mattabesset Trail, as that sign just indicated, across Connecticut Route 79. There's room for about 3 cars on the west side of the road. So you could park here if you wanted to. I think those other 2 parking lots get you quicker access to the more scenic areas. So this one's here if you needed it. And we're going to keep going kind of northeast from here towards Bear Rock. And I think it's called Connecticut Cave. And I think we have time to see both. This has been pretty easy hiking as far as the footing goes. So I'm having no trouble making full strides. I can take full strides on every step. And no real scrambling required. It's rocky, but not ledgy where you have to use your hands at all. So pleasant hiking. Keep finding more things to record. Those boulders, lots of wildflowers, and in places at least. And mountain laurel everywhere. If you did this in late May or early June, you'd be treated to mountain laurel blooms the whole way. Alrighty, well, after crossing Connecticut Route 79, I think we've come about 2 miles, a little over 2 miles. We've crossed what's called Higginham Road, which has some traffic, but there was room to park there. It was grass. I couldn't tell by the Google mobile view if the grass was safe to park on or not. That's why I chose not to park there, but it was grass and you could park on it. Room for some cars, maybe 4 or 5 cars. This next road is a dead end. This is Harvey Road, and does not have much traffic. It looks like there's some wider spots where you can pull over. Matter of fact, I think I see somebody's pulled over right up here. So this is an option as well. I always go for the known parking lots when I'm planning a hike with limited time. I don't want to spend an hour trying to find the best place to park to do a section of trail. I'll take on more trail like I did today, more miles than I probably needed to, just to make sure I don't have to waste time looking for parking spots. But we're getting close to our Bear Rock. It's within a mile of here. So we're going to keep following these blue blazes and record the view when we get to the top. Well, unlike Mount Pisgah, that it didn't require your hands, I think this one's going to. So I'm going to put the phone away for a few minutes while I scramble up this little crevasse here, and then we'll take a better look at the top. But not more than a 10-minute walk from where we crossed Harvey Road. It's probably not even a half a mile. Whew. Well, that's what we just came up. I wouldn't call it difficult, but I needed my hands. Compared to that Montague Crag I did a few months ago back in November, that was still pretty tame. But yes, plenty of serviceberry and bloom up here, just like on Mount Pisgah. So let's take in the view, and we'll start making our way back. We have a very similar view as to that from Mount Pisgah. I think that might be even a better view, but this was definitely worth coming to. And we're looking west towards Fowler and Pistapog Mountains and Tri Mountain State Park, which is undeveloped. There's 3 little nubs of land right there. I approached that one day. Didn't quite get to that point on the New England Trail. And then that steeper cliff is a quarry. Talked about that earlier. So, beautiful hike. I'm guessing it's about 8 miles from the Cream Pot Road parking lot to this point. I'm going to trace my course on the map later on. I need to keep walking right now and make sure I get back in time. But As most of the footage would indicate, this is, you know, wooded. Mountain laurel just about everywhere. Ledges just about everywhere. And very pleasant and quiet trails. I only saw 2 other people. One was on a bicycle, mountain bike. One was hiking on a weekday with good weather. So, just a great place to come and get some miles in. You know, you can walk for miles and miles on these Blue Blaze Connecticut trails. The New England Trail is part of that. New England Trail follows the Connecticut Blue Blaze trails. You can go for miles and miles. And in this area, even though there's a lot of people around here, there aren't a lot of people right near the trail. There's a few houses back here. But you feel like you're in a much less populated area because of the wooded setting. And there's always something interesting to look at. And just a few minutes past the summit of Bear Rock, you come to this huge overhang. I didn't know this was here. You can see a big chunk of rock is broken off, it looks like. Created this overhang here. Lots of chains that have been bolted to the rock with carabiners for, I guess, climbing. Well, it's not easy to climb when it's an overhang like that, but I see chalk on the rock, so people have done it. Fascinating. Okay, let's take one last look at the map of the New England Trail in this area, and then I'm going to do the road walk back. Get down here and take a look at it. To get underneath this boulder here to not get so much reflection on this screen here to show you where I went today. So in yellow is section 4 of the New England Trail. It's about 6.7 miles. We did almost all of it from the south end of what's called Dead Hill Road all the way around this way up to Bear Rock. I'm guessing we did about 5 miles of it. Before that, we did about 2.5 miles on section 9, which started right there where that P is at the south end of Cream Pot Road. And we've did our way all the way around Mount Pisgah, in and out, back and forth, and back down to the end of section 4. So I'm guessing 5 miles on section 4, 2.5 on section 9, so 7.5 miles is my estimate. There's no real indication of how far each road crossing is on any of these resources I could find. All trails kind of had some information. Wasn't enough to get an accurate measurement. Connecticut Cave is on this side trail that's dotted green there. I didn't know how far it was from the main trail, and I didn't want to take the time today. So that'll have to wait. I think we saw the main attractions, Bear Rock, Mount Pisgah, and a lot of the beautiful scenery in between. So my road walk will be basically coming back down the Blue Trail here to Harvey Road, and then a bunch of little suburban streets with houses but not much traffic right back down to Cream Pot Road. So that's 3.5 miles is what it says when you punch it into your map, Google Maps. So I'm guessing 7.5 miles in the woods and 3.5 road walking would be 11 miles, maybe closer to 12. But I think I could do this whole thing in 8 hours, including all the time to make these videos. So it's not hard to walk back here. There's a lot of rocks, but not a lot of scrambling. And the only time I had to use my hands was on the going up Bear Rock itself. So come out and enjoy this section of the New England Trail. You can do a loop like I'm doing with the road walking. You can set up a car shuttle. Or if you're really in good shape, go out 8 miles and turn around and come back.